Hello, this is David, and today we'll be doing the Lab4 in the INTC2030. We're going to be installing the DNS server on a Windows Server Core 2008. First thing, and we're going to be doing the first thing, we're going to be installing the DNS server row, and then we're going to be configuring some secondary zones for Cosmos.com. We're going to be forcing some zone transfers first, and we're going to be checking to make sure our DNS is working correctly, and then we're going to dump some of the DNS records to a file and check them. So the first thing I want to do before we get started, I want to check my DNS settings on my adapter card. So I'm going to do an IP config /all. And we notice here that I hadn't got a DNS server set up in the core yet, so that's good. If you was to happen to have a adapter setting in there and was having trouble getting it out, the best way I found was do a NetSH, your interface, IP version 4, and what we want to do is that we want to delete the DNS server, and that's on the local area connection, in quotes, and then just do an all, and that will delete all your settings in your DNS servers. And let's see the file name directly over this. Let me try this again here. NetSH INT IP version 4 delete DNS server local misspelled area there. So let me back up. Let me get in my screen here. Left my E out. Let's try that again now. Okay, and if I had 2 or 3 primary and secondary DNS server IPs in there, that would take them all out. And we're going to be adding one here in a few minutes, so let's check this to make sure everything is okay. There's no DNS IP server IPs in there. So now what we want to do is we want to install the DNS server row on our core server here. And to do that, we do a start /w OC setup, and then in capital letters DNS -server -core -row, and press the enter key. It looks like our DNS server core row is installed, and we got a prompt back. Now we want to set our DNS server service to start automatically, and do that we do a SC space config space DNS space start equal, and we need to leave one space before we hit the auto, and I think I misspelled configure and they put an I in there, and this will set the DNS to automatically start. That's successful. So what we want to do now is we want to start our DNS, so we just can start DNS and hit the enter key, and it looks like it's bringing us up a command prompt window here, and as you see there, the DNS.exe is running to start our service. Okay, we've got our DNS server started by doing the start DNS. What we're going to do now, we're going to set the adapter card DNS IP settings on it, and what we need to do there is NetSH INT for interface, you can abbreviate it, IPv4, add DNS server, quote, local area connection, and then we want the IP of this core server, which is 192.168.1.103, and we're going to put that on our adapter settings, and then we're going to, I misspelled another word there. I had my DSN server, it should be DNS server. I've corrected here. Now let's try this and see if that sets our adapter. What did I misspell there? Command IP DNS. I had IPve instead of IPv4 for version 4 there. Now let's try this and see if that'll get the adapter. Now let's do an IP config all, make sure that's set correctly. And we've got it in there. So let me clear my screen here. So now we want to add some zones to our DNS server, and right now we're going to be adding a secondary zone, and we're going to be adding a Cosmos.com with the IP address of 192.168.1.103. 1.101. To do that, we do a DNS command /zone add. So let's go ahead and add that zone. Okay, it added that zone, and what we want to do now is a DNS CMD, and we're going to do a zone refresh on cosmos.com. Okay, it completed successfully. Now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add another zone to the other server, and it is atum.com, and we're going to be adding that to the server 102. Okay, now let's refresh that. Okay, it refreshed. Okay. Now I'm going to configure a reverse lookup zone, and what I did here is DNS command /zone add 192.168.1.n-adder./primary. Let's see if that completed completely successfully. Now that we got our zone set up, we want to check and see what our zones look like, and what I'm going to do is a DNS command space /enum zones, and that will display the zones for us that we put in. There's our reverse lookup zone 192.168.1.enter-adder. We set it up as a primary. There's our adatum.com. We set it up as a secondary. And there's our consco.com. We set it up as a secondary. So now let's see if our NS lookup will actually find that. So the first thing we want to do, we will do a NS lookup on WK or 801, and we set it up. We've got it set up with cosmos.com, and we'll do a NS lookup on it. This first part here, this is our server, and our DNS server, and our DNS server is 103. And we look down in here, and here's the name that we done our NS lookup, and it's returned us a correct IP address. So let's do it on the other one now. We've got it set up as a secondary zone, and we had it set up as 802. So let's see if that returns 802 to us. ADATUM NS lookup. And as I said before, this is the server, the DNS server that's doing the NS lookup, and we did want it to use our server, the 103, and here it's returned the name, and it's also returned the correct IP, so that part's working also. Also on 801 and 802, if we go over here and look at them, we got a DNS server running on it, and we set up a host A record, one for test XX, and it is on 801. If we look at 802 here, during atom.com, we got a test YY record set up. So let's see if we can do an NS lookup on them. Let's do the first one here. We'll do the test XX and test our results, and it should come back. It's using our DNS server here. That's the first one, and it did return the 101, the testx.com. So let's test the yyadam.com. ADATUM. And it should come back with 802. We'll see if everything is working correctly. It's going out here on our server, our DNS server, which is 103. And sure enough, right there is the test yyadam.com. There's our zone transfers is working correctly. So what I want to do now is to check to make sure that our reverse lookup is working. So what I'll do now, I'll enter a NS lookup and hit the enter key, and we'll be running this interactive. We will make sure that we're using the .103 core server, DNS server, which we are now because it's told us right here. And so what we want to do, we want to look up what the server name is for 192.168.1.101, and it should return that it is what we want to do now is we're going to look at all of our DNS records for Cosmos.com here. And to do that, we do a DNS command, the DNS server name, which is core01, / zone print the domain, which is Cosmos.com. And then we're going to do a / detail and hit enter. And if we look back here, we start out here. The zone is the Cosmos.com. Our DNS server is core01. Here's our pointer record. Here is our NS record. And if we go down here, we'll see the w2801.www.lucenpublishing.com. Here's our SOA record. If we look down through here, here's our A record. And here's the IP address of the server. And we've got another A record with a pointer and the IP address. Now if we do the same thing on the Atom.com, and do a detail. Yeah, I misspelled it here. Take this O off of here. And we'll see the same type of records, and notice that IP address is correct. And here's the W2K802. So there's our record for the DNS records. Now to dump our DNS records to a file, we're going to use a DNS command. What we're going to do is DNS command / export our settings to well, I misspelled it there. Let me spell it correct. DNS settings text file. Okay, and it's completed successfully. Now if we go back and let me do a notepad here, we'll see if our records is out there. What we want to do is do an open, and we want to go to the C drive, Windows, and go down to the System32 file, and then slide down to DNS. Whoops, went right by. Go down here a little bit. Go into the DNS directory, and you'll see right there, there's our DNS settings text file. So let's open that thing up. And we take and do a word wrap. So you can see all the DNS records, and if you scroll on down here, you'll see the reverse lookup settings. Let's see, I see it there, right there, the NAdder. And there's 192.168.1.NAdder is equal to primary. That concludes this tutorial. Thank you.